Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over Bitcoin and how Bitcoin just had a flash crash. And the last time, we'll go over also the last time, what happened the last time we saw some kind of flash crash. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so there's a couple of things, before we get into all these other metrics, there's a couple of things I want to show you guys on the Bitcoin chart just to keep things in perspective here, okay? So here's what I want you to understand. What we're looking for here, what we're looking for is we are looking for a break of the previous all-time high. Okay, you can see this on the monthly time frame. So we hit the all-time high for the bull market back here. What did we do? We came up and tested it. Once we got above it, boom, absolutely moonshot to the upside. That was back during the, I believe, 2013 before 2017. And here, very similar thing. Okay, hit our all-time high. And again, this is, I mean, it's not perfect. Okay, it's not perfect, but you guys can kind of get the point here. So we had our 2017 all-time high. We came down for the bear market. Then, of course, we had a crazy flash crash that we're going to talk about in a minute. Came up and tested the highs. What did we do? We broke out and had a massive, epic bull market. So we are currently retesting the monthly all-time highs. We did get above it, but we did not have a retest and a massive breakout. Again, in my opinion, the reason why this is because we're still early in the cycle. We're likely not going to see that until December. But when we do get a breakout of some kind, let me see if I can just find it here. Where is it? So once again, it should theoretically look something like this. So come back, retest, and then boom, straight to the upside. Okay, that's kind of what we're looking for here. The other thing that I want to point out here is basically this, okay? So last time we had a flash crash in Bitcoin, what did Bitcoin do? And I'm going to show you guys this. Everybody knows this because we all lived through it. Okay, everybody around the world, unfortunately, had to deal with this. So the virus that we shall not name here on YouTube, pandemic of 2020, had an epic flash crash on Bitcoin. Why? Well, as you guys can see on the chart on the right, basically the flash crash happened as a result of a combination of two things. Number one, the pandemic. Number two, the Fed cutting rates. Okay. So I want you guys to understand the timing of this here. Okay. What is the Fed about to do? The Fed in September, and the markets are giving this 100% probability at this point that there's going to be at least a 25 basis point cut. In my opinion, it's probably going to be a 50. But the markets are given 100% probability of some cut of some kind next month. Okay. So at the time, the Fed cut rates and there was a pandemic simultaneously, or in this case, it would be a flash crash because what we saw with the recent flash crash was not pandemic related. It was just a flash crash, but 2 of 3 of these metrics were met, which is that the Fed is getting ready to cut rates and there was also a flash crash. And what did the Fed do as a result of the flash crash? Well, they cut rates. So basically, we just saw a flash crash. The Fed's getting ready to cut rates. I can go on and on and on about this, okay? But when the Fed cuts rates, what happens? Basically, the dollar index falls, Bitcoin and the dollar index, and I'm actually going to go over this right now with y'all. So you can see this in real time because I want you to understand this. And again, we usually only talk about the dollar index in macro videos, but this is significant, this is important, so I really want you to understand this. So we basically had the dollar up here at highs, right? So you can kind of mark out these highs, basically between 100 to 102. What happened when the dollar fell? Oh, look at that. Bitcoin rose. Okay. So again, the cycle timing is a little off as to why we haven't hit new highs yet, but generally speaking, you can see as I shift from left to right here, Bitcoin was going sideways as the dollar was going down, and then as the dollar basically was going down and bottoming out, Bitcoin hit new all-time highs. And then what happened when the dollar went up? Bitcoin went down. Okay. So Bitcoin and the dollar have an inverse correlation. What's going to happen with the Fed funds rate, or what's going to happen with the dollar index when the Fed funds rate goes down. I'm going to show you guys that right now. And I know this is all going to get a little confusing, but you'll understand how I'm tying this together. So I'm going to show you guys. And this is kind of a really ugly chart here, but I don't even know why it's showing up like this. So, you know what? Here, let's do this. Let's do the Fed funds rate on the right side and the dollar index on the left side. I don't know why it looks like that. So what I want to show you guys is this, okay? So generally speaking, when the Fed funds rate goes up, the dollar index goes up, okay? And when the Fed funds rate goes down, the dollar index goes down. Well, if the Fed funds rate goes down, the dollar index goes down, okay? And if the dollar index goes down, Bitcoin goes up. So when the Fed cuts rates, that's when at some point between now and the end of the year, Bitcoin in theory should go to new all-time highs, okay? So I wanted to show you guys that so you understand what's coming. All right, we just had a flash crash. The Fed basically just came out and said, yeah, it's time to cut rates. More or less, not verbatim exactly, but that's pretty much more or less what they said. And last time we saw this, Bitcoin had a crazy 6% crash of, 60% crash back in the day in early 2020, and then boom, we ripped to the upside. Broke new all-time highs towards the end of the year. That's kind of pretty much the same scenario we're looking at now. It just looks a little bit different because, again, the spot ETFs kind of pump the price prematurely. We get some kind of pullback in time or pullback until the Fed cuts rates, the dollar index falls off a cliff, and then Bitcoin and stocks go to the moon once they're done pricing all that in. Pricing in basically whatever kind of dump there's going to be, which in my opinion, the dump in stocks and crypto is pretty much over with at this point. So before we get into the other stuff, I just want to show you guys real time that we are experiencing some pain here in the accounts. Again, we try to be completely transparent about this, but you guys can see, like I'll show you a couple positions here. MSTY, we're down pretty substantially on this, so about 30%. Do I think MSTY, Coney, and the Bitcoin miners or the Grayscale Trust are done for this cycle? No, I do not. And once again, I've stated multiple reasons for that. The dollar is still at all-time highs. The Fed cuts rates, that goes down. Bitcoin goes up, crypto goes up, stocks go up. You know how this all works. So Mara, very similar thing here, unfortunately, but we just have to wait and be patient and perhaps maybe add more to it over time. So there's that. Also wanted to show you the crypto balance here. So you can see just in a single day, our account went down 10%, which is crazy. Even worse on the weekly time frame, and then still even worse on the monthly time frame. But you can see we haven't sold. We haven't bought anything, but we also haven't sold either because we're just not quite sure if the bottom's in yet. But again, we're becoming increasingly more confident that the bottom is in because a lot of things that show up on the charts, especially on the RSI, are showing up currently as oversold. A lot of price action of a lot of these assets are going outside the lower bound of the Bollinger Bands, which usually when that happens, it indicates an immediate reversal to the upside. But anyways, we still have our same positions. We are still expecting them to moonshot towards the end of the year. Nothing changes. Just wanted to show you guys that to show you we still have skin in the game. So one thing I want to point out here about CoinGecko.com, again, you guys can use this or CoinMarketCap or whatever kind of aggregator website you want to use to track this stuff. But the thing I want to point out is this. When you see, and I can't show you guys this in real time because we're not in the bull run yet, okay? But when you see, like, you go to the 7-day time frame here and you click on this and you look at the green, okay? This is on the first 100 tokens in the market cap, first page. You look at the green and you see, like, let's say the top 40 cryptocurrencies are up like 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000%. That's usually a pretty good indication maybe to consider taking some profits. Usually when you see down days like this, on the inverse, you see these crazy, crazy sell-offs. Okay, Lido down 37%, Maker down 36%, Pepe down 34%. Some that we even have the graph. Well, I don't think we have the graph anymore, do we? Let me take a look. No, we did get out of the graph, but I mean, regardless, the graph is still pretty cheap right now. So it's back down to 12 cents, down 28% in 7 days. Usually, what we look for if we were going to position trade this, what we would look for is the 7 day time frame to have a lot of cryptocurrencies down at least 20 to 30%. And we're seeing that right now. Okay, Gala. I can go on and on about this. Bitcoin Cash. That's another one that everybody loves. Render. Let's see what else we got here. We got Bonk, Internet Computer, Filecoin, Uniswap, Dogecoin, Jupiter, Polygon, Litecoin, and yes, we know what all of these projects are. Shiba Inu, we don't cover all the projects that we're aware of. We just cover the ones that make sense to us. So Algorand, Cosmos, we did have Cosmos in the previous cycle. ETH Classic, we also had that in the previous cycle. Bitcoin, you can see pretty much all of the main cryptos and even some of the lower cap ones are also red. So that's usually what we look for if we were just going to basically bulk buy these, we would look for days like this to do so, to just basically buy the dip in mass. You can see very similar here on the second page. So just keep scrolling down. You can see the vast majority of these are down 20 to 30%. Okay. So I want to point all those things out to you guys. Okay. So now we're going to go into the Google Trends. The basis of this is that this entire time, even after the spot ETFs, we did not hit anywhere close to the previous peak that we saw back during the major cycle peaks in the previous bull market. Okay. So we had a 70 and 100, and even during the spot ETF timing, we only hit a 35. So that tells me that we're still very early and the top is likely not in. Okay. Once again, Bitcoin had its biggest move when the Fed cut rates and the dollar index fell off a cliff. Those two things are about to happen because the Fed is likely going to cut rates starting next month, which means the dollar index is going down. Okay. Because again, the dollar index is based on the strength of the dollar. If money is moving out of assets into cash, that builds the strength of the dollar. When it flows out of cash into risk on assets, that weakens the strength of the dollar. So you guys got to understand how this works. So Bitcoin, that was for crypto. So Bitcoin, there is a little tick up, but again, people just looking at their portfolios thinking, yikes, what the hell's happened to my Bitcoin? So again, I still think Bitcoin is honestly not doing that bad considering the kind of drop that we saw back in 2021. So once again, Bitcoin at the all-time highs in the cycle peak was at 100, and even back here during the bear market swing high is 77. We have not gotten anywhere near that, not even during the spot ETF news. Once again, I suspect we're probably going to see the biggest moves in crypto. I'll say it one more time, when the Fed cuts rates and the dollar index goes down. Usually when the dollar index starts going down, that's when Bitcoin takes off, okay? And that usually happens when the Fed is cutting rates. So fear and greed, we're in extreme fear. Generally speaking, over history, this has been the best or one of the best times to buy. So you can see the last time we were down here at basically these lows was all the way back during almost the bear market lows of June of 2022. Again, the bear market lows were probably somewhere around here, around October, but you can see we're pretty close to that. December 2021, that was the peak of crypto in the last cycle, and then the 2021 55% drop here on June of 2021. So again, historically pretty good time to buy, and you can use this crypto and fear and greed index for basically not just native cryptocurrencies. You could probably actually use this in tandem with the charts on both the grayscale trusts, not just native cryptocurrencies, but also the grayscale trusts and the Bitcoin miners, and even things like Coinbase and MicroStrategy. So just keep that in mind. MVRV, we're going back down again. Simply put, we're not inside these pink boxes up here, which is generally speaking, usually marks pretty close to the top, as you guys can see. We're not even close to that. So once again, indicates we're very early. We're probably likely not in the parabolic phase of the bull run yet, and we're not also likely at all-time highs. Bitcoin rainbow charts. So I pretty much told you guys before what I'm looking at. If I can get this thing to work. There we go. So what I'm looking at is probably, say sometime towards the end of 2025. And you guys got to remember, once the Fed cuts rates and the market's fully priced it in, Generally speaking, the markets go up from there, so not exactly sure what that's going to look like. But in my opinion, the sell-off we've seen recently is probably done at this point. But I suspect we're probably going to hit somewhere between the light green to the yellow color. So, I mean, the numbers on that could be, it depends on what time we top out during the year too, but basically anywhere from 210,000 to 288,000. I think that's a reasonable estimate. Again, I don't think we're at the top here. Usually we do get some kind of pullback after the halving, and you can see that's happened twice after this halving. It happened pretty much, more or less, pretty much after every single halving we've had on this chart. So new bull, we did get a de-risking on this one, so we have pulled back out of this kind of slightly oversold territory here. So we are kind of neutral at this point. I would say that's more bullish. Again, do I think we go back to the capitulation before the? Do I think we hit capitulation before the peak of the bull run? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but you can see even during the 2021 drop, we basically just went back to the levels we're pretty much at right now. So I don't think it's really much of anything to be worried about. Pi cycle top indicator, we did get a pullback below the yellow EMAs. Again, those levels are basically at 64,000 all the way up to almost 100,000. Again, as time moves forward, these EMAs move up, which means the price targets for these also move up. Pretty much what we're looking for here is we're looking for a break above the green EMA for the last phase of the parabolic bull run. We have not seen that. In fact, we've seen the opposite this time. We've seen a pullback below the yellow one. Once we get a break above the EMA and a massive rip to the upside, we're looking for the EMAs to either touch or cross. That would indicate the top for Bitcoin. We have not seen that. In terms of it pulling back below the yellow EMA, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. You can see it did actually happen right here in the middle of the 2021 bull run and then popped off for another second peak afterwards. Although the Pi cycle top indicator did trigger here, it did not trigger over here on this one. And also, basically, before the pandemic crash, we did see we were already below it, and then we came above it and came back down below it. So there is that. It's kind of an anomaly. The other thing I want to point out here is that at the start of this bull run back here in 2015, all the way into the end of 2017, we did see the price dip down below once before going back up. So it's not like it hasn't happened before. On this double cycle peak, we also got a dip back down below the EMAs as well. So the lines did cross here. We did get a pullback and then another rip up before the lines eventually crossed and went into a bear market. Okay, so in terms of Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, we're still within the flag. Again, that's a bull flag. The target is all the way up here at $125,000. I can give you guys the Fibonacci retracements as well. So basically, roughly about the cycle highs to the cycle lows from the last cycle to the bear market lows. You can see the top fib is all the way up here. It's not lined up perfectly with the lows, but it's somewhere between roughly about 230 to 240,000 as a potential peak target. We're not even close to that. We do have a death cross on the monthly time frame here for the RSI. Usually that has indicated a cycle peak for Bitcoin, as you guys can see here. Cycle peak, drop, cycle, basically. Well, this one was a little sketchy. This actually wasn't even a bull market, but it's kind of just chopping around. And then we saw basically, so the cycle peak here, and then we had an anomaly where it went up to new highs in November. There was no death cross here. The death cross was already underway, and we are currently seeing one right now. The thing I will say about the monthly RSI death cross right now, sure, it could lead to a bear market, but do I think it's going to? No, because again, there's just too many things. Like, we're early in the cycle. The Fed is about to cut rates, which means the dollar index will go down. Bitcoin and the dollar index have an adverse correlation. There's just too many things in my mind that tell me that likely we are just simply not at the top yet. This is just playing out a little bit differently because institutions are in the game now. And I think I can't say anything for sure, but it wouldn't, I'll just put it like this. It wouldn't surprise me if the cycle is being manipulated at this point. But again, the whole Japan unwinding thing with the carry trade, that's I don't think that that's necessarily something institutions here in the US can control. So, again, that is a black swan event. But so, pretty much what we're looking at here is that we are above the flag. Okay. So, as long as we're above the bottom of the flag, and as long as we stay, I would say if the candle closes above at least these lows here, I'd say we're good to go. The other thing I'm looking at here is basically holding the red EMA. Generally speaking, we have held that throughout the entire bull market. It's not perfect, but we have held it more or less. So kind of dipped a little bit below it here and here, but did more or less hold it and go up. I think the important thing here that I want to point out is what's going on the daily time frame. So we showed you guys this before, and again, I kind of thought that was going to be the bottom, and it did rip quite a bit after that. I mean, it went up massively. If we measure this, the move was pretty huge. So I don't know exactly. Okay, this is being difficult for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. So let's try this one more time. There we go. So it did move up about 31, 32%, but then of course it got rejected again. Basically, we're just in consolidation is what this looks like. Thing I want to point out here is every single time we got one of these oversold signals during this bull market or pretty close to it on the daily time frame. You can see right here, we ripped afterwards. Right here, we ripped afterwards. Right here, we ripped afterwards, although that was a smaller one. This was basically, this right here was pretty much a bullish divergence where the RSI was going up, but the price was coming down. So we already knew there was probably going to be a reversal there. There was this one and the price ripped up. And now we have this one, okay? So every single time on the daily, this thing is hit oversold, the price, generally speaking, goes back up. Another strong example here, August 2023. This one was a lot more oversold at the time, but you can see the move was just absolutely insane. So 187% move. I don't think I need to say much more about that. Sorry about that, y'all. Wrong time frame. So we're going to go over one more thing here, and that is the 4-hourly time frame. So as you guys know, we're looking for pretty much the same thing we were looking for before when we talked about this, okay? So basically what I'm looking for is a golden cross on the 4-hourly time frame. If we see that on the 4-hourly time frame, we know that Bitcoin is likely going to go higher, and we're going to get a golden cross on the daily time frame. So last time we got one was here at 57,000, and then we went all the way up to 70,000. We're looking for that as well. Basically, once again, you can see it's happened multiple times, multiple golden crosses, basically during this consolidation. And it's when we do eventually get more heavily into Bitcoin, this is pretty much how we're going to do it. So we basically just when we get the golden cross, we would start our position with a golden cross. So we would start like a set amount, buy at the golden cross, let it rip. Basically, when we get to a major resistance and or get some kind of indication that we're going to basically get a death cross, we would get out and then, or take profit, I should say, let it kind of drop and maybe bottom out a little bit, look for some kind of bottoming indicator like the RSI or maybe like a double bottom or something, or a support zone, get back in and just add to the position until we get to the golden cross, stop buying, let it rip up, and then rinse and repeat. So anyways, this is Bitcoin and what's going on with Bitcoin. Again, I don't think we're at the highs. I've gone over all the different things that we've talked about. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.